Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. I'm filming this on Sunday evening. We had 3 wonderful services this morning in Drogheda, and what a joy it was to be able to see more and more of the people in our church face to face again, not having seen them in so many months. It was of course strange with all the safety precautions that we're having to take, but it was just so good to see so many people again, and also to see new people that were coming to the church for the first time, some of whom had been contacted and initially heard of us through online messages such as these Take 5s. That's been a blessing as well. But obviously as the country begins to open up again, as Ireland begins to open up and try and get back to something approximating normal, it's all keeping one eye on the figures, on the reproduction rate of this virus, to make sure that things don't get out of control and that we can open up in a safe way. And of course there's been a slight uptick in the number of infections. I think it was 24 new cases infected yesterday. But we're nowhere near the situation in some other countries, where the state of Florida yesterday had over 15,000 new cases. So we thank God for where we are. But even so, I was reading an interview with an infectious diseases expert, and he said this. He said, when you consider that all the implementation of emergency measures back in March was when there were 27 cases registered in the country, he said obviously it might give you cause of concern that there's now 24. And I thought, well, yeah, if 27 grew so quickly to end up infecting tens of thousands and seeing seeing over 1,700 deaths, I said, yeah, you would be concerned. But then he went on to say this. He said, but there's a crucial difference. He said, back then we didn't have the tracking and the tracing, and so we had no idea where these people were getting infected from and who they'd passed it on to. He said now, because of the improvements in the tracking and the tracing, we have a much better idea, and so the 24 people that got infected yesterday don't pose nearly the same threat to the country as the 27 that we knew of that were infected back in March. And I thought, yeah, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Made me glad that I, like over 1 million other people, have registered and downloaded the coronavirus track and tracing app that our country has developed, so that we can keep track of this thing and things don't run out of control. But it really set me thinking as well about the difference here is how important it is to know where you've come from and to know where you're going to. And of course, Jesus spoke about that. It was way back in John chapter 13. And I've mentioned this before in a previous devotional, how it says that Jesus was able to wash the disciples' feet because he knew that he had come from his Father God, and he knew he was returning to the Father. Therefore, he had the confidence to be able to kneel down and wash his disciples' feet. When we're in a situation where we can have contact with less people, I mean, before March, I couldn't have counted the number of people I was in close proximity to. If you had asked me to write them down in one day on a bit of paper, I'm thinking of all the people in airports, on aeroplanes, in meetings, walking through the streets, gathering in different churches and meetings. There would have been hundreds of people in a day. Now it would be much simpler to do it. So what does that mean? It means that every contact that we have with somebody, we've got to make it count. It's not like just you've got thousands of contacts with people every day and maybe 1 or 2 of them will bring out a productive opportunity to share with them about Jesus. Instead, we've got a much more limited number of close contacts with people. So we really need to learn to make them count. Now, the plus side of that is it may well mean that we end up valuing each other more and valuing the opportunities we have to meet together more. I will be honest with you, when I was in church today, I valued the opportunity to meet with my brothers and sisters so much more than I would have if I was talking about this back in January or February of this year. So let's make the most of every contact. Let's make the most of every opportunity we have to influence somebody towards Jesus. And I would encourage you to download the app if you're in Ireland, so that you too can play your part in making sure that this horrible virus doesn't get out of control again and cause such devastation afresh to our nation. Look, thank you for joining us today for Take 5, and please join us again tomorrow for your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.